Hello, welcome again to another edition of Leading Edge. Now, in the last 2 weeks, we've been on the series Dream to Lead as we explored what it will take to produce great outcomes and especially how to translate your best intentions into reality. In part 1, we discussed that vision thing, where we established that great outcomes are products of vision and deliberate inputs. We particularly noted that things are made, not wished. Therefore, any great outcome we wish to see will be made. This is because life outcomes are born out of the choices that we make. They are decision sensitive. Now, last week, we examined what I called goals to gold, transforming your goals to reality. In it, we discussed 5 principles that are critical in realizing your goals. Now, these were, number 1, the crystal ball principle. Now, this is the principle of clarity. Number 2 was what we call the mountain peak principle. This is the principle of transformation. And number 3 was the wheel principle. This is the principle of routines. And number 4 was the staircase principle, the principle of doing things in milestones. And finally, we looked at the all-seeing eye principle. That is the God principle, or what we call the God factor. Today, we shall take the 3rd installment of the series Dream to Lead, as we discussed what I have called Just Do It, the power of execution. So far, we have dealt with all the preparations for effectively developing and positioning your dreams for actualization. As we said, vision answers the question, why? Now your goals answer the question, what? Action planning answers the question, how? Now these are all important items in the entire process of realizing your goals. The next step then is called execution. It is where you roll up your sleeves to take on the how. It is to get the dream, the goals, the intent into motion. Execution poses no question, as you can see. In a sense, it is like working out the answers to the question you already posed. It is a statement of action that says, now do it. Or like Nike's corporate motto will say, just do it. Execution is where it all comes together, all falls all together. Okay, so let me start this way. Now, I heard a story years ago about a pastor in one of Nigeria's major cities who one day told those around him that a particular popular cinema hall will close down and he will start a church there. He spoke about it with such a degree of conviction. Each time he passed that hall, he would repeat those words with the certainty of someone who has seen the end of it. This cinema facility will close down and I will start a church there. That's what he kept saying. Over 1 year period, he kept saying this, and then 2 years, and then 3. Then the cinema eventually closed down. Shortly after that time, someone else took it over and started a church there. Now, this pastor clearly had no vision problem. He dreamt a new future with exactitude. But what he had was an execution problem. So in the end, dreamers draw the blueprint for a new future, their future, but only doers make that new future happen. So no matter how lofty and accurate your dreams and goals for 2021 and beyond may be, if you do nothing about them, that's what you will get. Nothing. It is the same challenge at the personal, institutional, or even national levels. The execution challenge. This is called the execution gap. This is the misalignment between your goals or a company strategy and the day-to-day activities of the individual or the company. It is the difference between great intention and poor result. Some studies show that an upwards of 40% of strategies fail due to this execution gap. That is, strategies that failed because they were either not executed or were poorly executed. Now, in a study where 125,000 employees, including top executives from over 1,000 companies spread across about 50 countries in the world, they participated in this study. About 60% of the respondents rated their organizations as weak at execution. Now, let me talk to you about what I've called the execution equation. Now, the following simple equations are worth noting about execution. Goals or strategy plus execution will equal results or expected outcome. I hope you got that. It is that simple. But know that many variables can play in between. So you could have good or great or even perfect goals or strategy plus no execution that will give you no result or no outcome at all. You could also have good or great or perfect goals or strategy plus poor execution. What will you get? You get lower than expected results or outcome. Now, an average or mediocre goal or strategy plus great execution, on the other hand, will achieve good results. In fact, it will deliver better than a great strategy with poor or no execution. I hope you got that. Now, Stephen Covey captures exactly this point when he said, most leaders would agree they'll be better off having an average strategy with superb execution than a superb strategy with poor execution. Execution, therefore, appears to be about the most critical variable. Most organizations have moved away, therefore, from the fixation to the perfect strategy. Now, the traditional plan and then do approach, as it were, has become obsolete, even dangerous. According to Michael Mankins, in his Harvard Business Review article that he called 5 Ways the Best Companies Close the Strategy Execution Gap, there is instead a more agile test and learn approach described as decide do and then refine do. Execution is not to have all the answers, but it certainly means attempting all the questions. Now, here is what Ecclesiastes 11 verse 4 in the Bible says. He who observes the wind and waits for all conditions to be favorable will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. So, go to work. That's simple. And you can refine your goals or strategy along the way. Let me take a little time to talk to you why people fail in strategy execution. Right. Now, if execution is so critical to achieving goals, the question then becomes, why do people fail to take actions more than 60% of the time? As I reflect on this question based on my experience and the observations I've made, a few things quickly come to mind. Let me talk to you about 4 things. 4 things I think are reasons why people fail to execute properly. Number 1 is what I've called the prison of immediacy. Often we are caught and trapped in the contending demands of everyday grind. Our routines appear firmly established that we live or we have little room for disruptions. Let's say that my goal is to read a book a month, and this happens to be something I have not been doing before now. I then need to change my behavior and my schedule. Execution is difficult because it may require a change in my behavior or schedule. But here, my daily schedule is already filled up. So if I don't take the time to think through how to move things around, to make room for the new goal, I will never get down to the execution thing. That's one. So number two is putting off for tomorrow what you can do today. Now, I learned one big lesson years ago. Often when asked for a timeline to deliver on a task, what do we typically do? We push it quite far away. That is always a temptation. But I found that it never makes the task any easier when it is pushed farther away. In fact, if anything, the zeal to tackle it may even wane further. So, do it now. What you call procrastination is the pastime of mediocres. It never helps a man or a woman on a mission. Right. Now, number three reason why people fail to execute is unplanned disruptions. Now, sometimes you are all set and going, all right, in trying to execute your goal. You're already doing something. And then you experience disruptions. You experience what I call the tyranny of the urgent. A crisis situation that demands immediate attention hits you. Now, it can throw your execution process off course. This is where you need to apply flexibility to your goals and make room for such disruptions. And finally, number 4, there is also the challenge of the fear of failing. There is this morbid fear of failing, born out of uncertainty about what the outcome of the entire activities will be like. This is often what freezes people in taking the first step. But I found that it is better to try and fail than to fail to try. The question is, what if it all works? Okay, now at this point, I want to zero in on what I've called the 7 principles of execution. I'm going to walk you through this. You can call them the 7 P's of execution. Okay? Now, number 1, prepare. Prepare. Execution is first a mindset. Therefore, prepare your mind to make the behavioral changes that are critical to start the journey towards achieving your goals. It is great that your dream and your specific goals are all well articulated and you've developed action plans that you require. But for you to take the first step towards execution, you need to be prepared. You need the mental preparation to make room and grant importance to actions that need to be taken. Watch my word. Grant importance to those actions. Reflect on those actions and accept their relevance towards attaining the goal. See yourself in them. Decide when to start and hold yourself accountable for that action to be taken. Now, anticipate the potential challenges you may likely face and identify what you will need to do to counter them. When you have thought through the process in this way, you are better equipped and will have that security to deal with any pull to quit when difficult situations arise. So, the first step in execution is to be mentally prepared and to make the relevant adjustments to accommodate the anticipated behavior and routine changes that may be required. Good. Number 2 is what I've called possess. In the execution journey, it takes commitment to start and it takes consistency to continue. Like they say, the way to start is to start. Sometimes the first step is the hardest because it is all covered in fear, uncertainty, and anxiety. But then, just begin. I've been involved in projects that were daunting and frightening. I come down with this sense of uncertainty and the fear of failing in the final outcome. But once I brace up with courage to take the first step, I find that other things just begin to come together. The first step you take, it is like signing off on the project. It is like a seal of ownership. It means that you have taken ownership of the entire process of realizing the dream. Execution starts and is sustained by that sense of ownership and commitment. If you don't own the actions, you will never truly and fully perform those actions. If you are not completely committed and sold to a goal, you are not going to give it all the effort it will take to succeed. Now, where there is no commitment, you will give up more easily. You will work with less interest, and you are more likely to procrastinate and make more unproductive choices. So today, what will I tell you? Possess your goal if you must leave it eventually. All right. Number 3 is what I call protect. Now, effective execution demands prioritization. So narrow your focus to what's really most important. Taking the required action to achieve your dream, especially when such actions are not part of your normal routine, demands that you elevate those actions to the point of importance, if you know what I mean. When people say that they don't have time, what they really mean is that they don't find a particular activity that important. It is not a priority to them. So, when people don't have time, it is not a timing issue, it is a priority issue. Until your goal is priority, you may never really allocate it the time it requires. I have an hour blocked off every evening for a particular routine that I do. It's an activity most people will consider unserious, not too important, but I've chosen to prioritize it. And so I protect that activity in my daily schedule. Why? I consider it important. Prioritizing the goal requires that leadership ability that says no or not now to many other contending demands and new ideas that may come up. This also requires focusing on the behaviors and activities that deliver the results and not so much on the results themselves. So let me also remind you that focus demands elimination. Giving yourself to too many things at the same time reduces effectiveness. I think that's a word for the apostles of multitasking. It has some serious downsides, by the way. Focus on one thing at a time instead of doing many things at the same time. Number 4, perform. The execution thing is work. Lots of it. Bullish, biting, and boring work. Now, a lot of people usually underestimate the level of effort it takes to successfully execute and achieve some goals. Execution is work. Tough work. That's simple. If you don't properly wrap this around your head and adequately prepare for the potential stretch it will bring on you, you may soon give up or at best execute poorly and achieve poor results with it. Always remember, nothing happens until you make them happen. The wise writer of the book of Proverbs in the Bible says these words. In Proverbs 14:23, it says, hard work always pays off. Mere talk puts no bread on the table. Now, in the 22nd chapter, verse 29, it says this, observe people who are good at their work. Skilled workers are always in demand and admired. They don't take a back seat to anyone. So, execution is work. Get to work. The best dreams need to be worked. So, work it. Perform the goal. Now, number 5. Number 5 is partner. With the many bumpy spots on the road of execution, it's best to have company on the journey. You need an accountability partner. Execution requires a support system to be effective, especially for activities that stretch for long time horizons. Twice now, I've had to embark on a postgraduate program. I have come to know that sometimes your goals will outstrip your capacity and deplete your self-discipline bank. At such times, you will require a lifeline from a support system around you. You need that voice that says, you have come too far to go back now. Or the voice that says, just give it one more push, you're almost there. You need that feedback loop that helps you identify the areas where you are doing well and those other areas where you need improvement. So, have you identified the functional partner and the co-traveler on this execution journey? Now, sometimes you can't go alone all the way. Find a trusted confidant that you can reach out to share your thoughts and brainstorm the various options that may be available. Now, schedule times with such a person to review your progress and to obtain useful feedback. It helps to keep you going or to recalibrate your journey where necessary. Associate yourself with a community of supporters who will be your cheerleaders, your critics, your guide, and what have you. These may be relatives, they may be friends, colleagues, neighbors, anyone, right? The value of a support system is that such a team will help you, in terms of motivation, in correction, in checking you out, and in cheering you up to the finish line. Now, number 6. Number 6 is process. Process. Execution requires constant monitoring, reviews, and assessments to determine and to drive progress. Now, the nature and scope of the goal you are chasing will obviously determine the frequency of such review exercises, whether it's going to be weekly or monthly or quarterly or whatever else. But this is a very critical and useful process. Just stepping back to check progress or otherwise and to establish what the next step should be. This could be a simple analysis and reflection about what you have accomplished so far. It could be personal or done with your support system. Such a review provides you insights regarding areas you may need to improve upon or if you have to adjust your goals or your routines. Again, recording the outcome of the review can be very useful. It enables you establish trends and rationale and expectations for future reference. Some goals take a long while to accomplish by their very nature. So it is important to revisit the progress of your goal from time to time to ensure that you are actually improving and not just running around in circles. Okay, so finally, number 7. Number 7 is persevere. The execution journey can be a marathon. You will need a lot of raw grit. Only those who have the character to stay the course get rewarded with great results in the end. So the real meat of the execution process is staying true to the finish. It can be a very tough deal, really tough. People don't get rewarded for what they started and dumped. Only finishers get rewarded. So determine to finish your course. This takes consistency and perseverance. There is no great achiever there who never got tempted 1,000 times to just walk away from it all. The pressures, the misunderstandings, and the sundry challenges. Right. Execution is a test of your character, and only those who stay true will win. When everyone else says it's time to stop, it is the inner drive that keeps you in the game. Great. So we have looked at the various dynamics and principles that will drive execution. We particularly looked at the 7 principles or the 7 P's framework. Okay? We've covered, if you remember, number 1, prepare. Get mentally prepared to make the adjustments necessary to start the journey. Possess. It will require commitment and ownership to drive your goals. That's execution. Protect. Effective execution demands prioritization. Number 4 was perform. The execution thing is work. Lots of it. Number 5 was partner. Execution is easier if you have some company on the journey. And number 6, process. To drive progress, you need to constantly monitor, review, and assess that progress. Now, the final one was persevere. The execution journey is a marathon. You will need raw grit to push to the finish line. Now, as we close this discussion today, I need you to realize that a dream without execution is at best a beautiful daydream. You need to act the dream. This is why my favorite corporate tagline remains Nike's "Just do it." The secret to successful execution is to bid bye-bye to procrastination and begin to act now. So, take a stake in your dreams today and resolve to begin to effectively drive your plans. Give it your best. And if you fail, don't worry about it. You would have learned something new at least. In the end, you will find that the challenge of most people, and indeed organizations, is not so much the absence of vision or strategic thinking as it is the absence of strategic acting. It is the problem of execution. So, don't let your great goals become another victim of the execution gap. The triangle of execution is this. Listen: commence, continue, and complete. I'll say that again. Commence, continue, and complete. My friend, it is my sincere prayer that you will complete all 3 loops. You will push things through from commencement through continuation and onto completion. And I wish you all the best as you do this. Thank you. So this brings us to the end of the session today. And I want to really thank you for joining us. If you have not been following us so far on our social media handles, please do so today. And continue to like, share, and comment on these videos if they are helping you. Thank you so much for joining. This has been Leading Edge.